we've tried a lot of different options, and it seems like every single one we have failed at. And so we're really ready to give up and move on and just say, you know what, this isn't for me. But we're not willing to stop there, are we? There are so many options out there. If you just take a look on social media, there is, for every person that's out there, they have a new idea and a new solution that's going to lose you pounds, that's going to get you organized.
Change your life.
It's going to be amazing. And this is the one-stop shop. But what happens when this amazing solution doesn't work? There's a
You just
brilliant
wasted several $100s
and a whole bunch of time, and you want to give up, but that's not you. You're not ready to give up yet. I love analogies, and the best analogy I've ever heard was that of Baskin Robbins. Okay, how many flavors does Baskin Robbins have?
31.
31. So if you go to Baskin Robbins and you pick up the mint chocolate chip and you say, this is pretty good, but you know what? The chocolate chips get stuck in my teeth, and eating the mint makes me feel like I'm eating toothpaste.
Right.
Like, it's not for me. Does that mean you're never going to eat ice cream again? No, it means that the next time you go back, you're going to try something else. This time, you're going to try the
Rocky Road
and see if that works for you. So all you're going to do is you're going to try something else until you find something that works.
Yes. Yep.
All right. All right. Take it away.
Take it away. All right. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. That's all that means. There are 31 flavors there and 30,000 options everywhere else. Whether it's with organizing your home and you want to do a bunch of cubbies like that, or you want to do, I don't know what else to do with hormone. I'm trying to make it work, and I don't know anything about that. That's your department. But I do know there are 5,000 different diets. Yeah. I can tell you that. There is like a multi-billion-dollar industry built upon the fact that everybody has the diet for you. This is the last diet you'll ever do. It'll change your life. It's the only one that's going to work. How many times have you heard those?
Oh, every single time.
Every time. Don't stay up late at night, because every infomercial, that's what it sounds like. But yeah, there's no one size fits all. No. That's why there are so many diet fads, and that's why it's so important for you to learn your own body. No one is a better expert than you at your body. No one can tell you how you feel. No one can, you can run all kinds of tests. You can run blood tests, and you can do this and do that. But at the end of the day, you know how you feel, and you know whether you feel good or whether you don't. Yeah. And you also know before anyone else if the change you're trying to create is happening. Yeah. Like not last summer, a year and a half ago, I tried something new, and I decided I was going to start having green smoothies and an English muffin, a whole wheat English muffin for breakfast. And then I was going to I tried this whole new way of eating. And I had hoped that it would make me leaner, meaner. And it did the opposite.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not good.
No.
It was not good at all. I got extra squishy. Nice and fluffy. And
that's a really good way of putting it.
Probably, it may have been noticeable to some, but my clothes size didn't change. My weight didn't fluctuate that much. But I'll tell you what did change was the way I felt and the way I looked when I got out of the shower. I knew what I looked like. Yeah. And that's not something that you really could have measured all that well, because like I said, the scale didn't change that much. It was like 3 or 5 pounds. It was nothing. But I knew instantly within a few months, I was like, ooh, this is not good. This is going backwards. This is not what I need to do. And so I had to backtrack and go, okay, well, plan A didn't work. What's plan B? I didn't throw in the towel. I didn't say, well, I guess being lean means not for me. I just went backwards. I course corrected, redirected, and I found something else that did work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that really is, I love how you said redirected, because that's really kind of where we're going with all of this. Yep. So there are 5 Re's that I teach in order to shift. I mean, really, with dieting and exercising, with home organization, with anything, really, there is no one size fits all. And when it comes to home organization, I mean, you've got the Swedish death cleaning, you've got the minimalism movement, you've got the KonMari method, you've got all of these different things that are really faddish right now.
I don't know what it
And and you know, you've got
Swedish death cleaning.
there
So
is
scary.
Swedish death cleaning. Yeah.
Sorry, I digress.
No, you're totally fine. But the point that I teach people is, look, I don't care how many books you're going to buy. If you don't find what's right for you, it's not going to make a bit of a difference. But here's the thing. I don't care if you find a book that works for you right now or a method that works for you right now. Life changes and life shifts, and you need to be able to do it with life. You need to be able to shift with life. So I have a kind of a blueprint that I teach people. It's not a method. It's just a methodology of shifting, of how you shift. So number one, you've got to rethink what you're doing. If it's not working, go back and say, okay, what could work for me? This obviously isn't working anymore. So now I need to rethink and say, okay, where is it broken and how am I going to fix it? Then we need to reduce. We need to say, okay, right now I'm kind of overwhelmed, overloaded. This isn't working. And so I'm kind of in survival mode. So what can I get rid of that's going to help clear out the space for more and for something new? So am I going to get rid of, you know, my green smoothie recipes? Am I going to get rid of the cloth bins that are falling apart on me? Am I going to get rid of, what am I going to reduce? And then we need to restructure and say, okay, that didn't work. So now I'm going to shift and I'm going to do this. I'm going to hang my coats on hangers instead of on hooks. I am going to try intermittent fasting instead of green smoothies for breakfast. So we're going to restructure how we put our systems together. And then we're going to reassess and say, okay, now that I've restructured everything, how's it working? Is it working well? If not, then I got to start back from the beginning and rethink, okay, what's not working and how am I going to pivot? So reassess how you've put your systems and your structures together, and then just repeat the process. So,
and you might have to do that a few times.
Until you find exactly what works. I moved into a new house and I had 2 coat closets. It was the best house ever. I actually had like more storage than what I needed. And so I turned one of my coat closets into my dumping grounds, into my catch-all. This is my command center. And I painted it and I made it cute and I put up, you know, a mail incoming box and I put some pictures up and I did this and that and the other, and I thought, oh, this is perfect.
It's a big closet.
Well, it wasn't really, but it was the perfect size for everything that I needed.
That's cool.
I had all my paper catchment there. I had all the incoming, outbound, everything. I had my clock there, my calendar. It was fantastic. But 6 months into using it, I figured out that I wasn't using it at all. And it started junking up my table, and it was in the office, the things that shouldn't have been there. And
so the idea was great, but the execution not so much. You know,
so I took a step back,
not unusual,
and reassessed.
That's not unusual.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that life changes, right? You get your house all organized, and then you have a baby. Or you get your body all organized and you're feeling good and you're looking good, and then you have a baby. Or you have a few babies and then you blink and it's been 10 years. And what worked when you were 20 and pre-children doesn't work anymore.
No.
You know, it used to just be, well, I just needed to exercise and stop eating cookies for a couple days and then I looked great in my swimsuit. And now I can't even blink toward a cookie. And
don't even look at it.
And the weight is not going anywhere. And my body's not changing. And I'm killing myself. So not only do you have to pivot in when you're trying to find the right program, but you might have to pivot off that program completely because of life. So you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to reassess, like you said. And I think a lot of times, you know, if we think about jobs and school, they have report cards, right? They have performance evaluations. Why do we do that? Because it's a good opportunity to assess what's happening and maybe we need to change something. Now, if your kid went to school the entire school year and you never got a report card, you never had a parent-teacher conference, you never had a midterm grade,
you would have no idea.
You would have no idea. And then you might get to the end of the school year and they may have been struggling in math the entire time. And had you found out 1 quarter in or 2 quarters in, you could have course corrected, pivoted, reassessed, reevaluated. You can put any term you want on it, but you could have found a different way.
Yeah.
But if you don't ever check and you don't ever, I mean, I really think that a lot of people think I eat healthy, I exercise, I go to the gym every day, and they never actually look back and go, have I accomplished anything?
Have I changed anything?
I mean, I see the same people every day at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen the same people for years every day at the gym doing the same workouts, and nothing is changing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how they want it. Maybe that's just they want to maintain where they are. But I find it hard to believe that they aren't hopeful that they'll create some sort of change or success.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest reasons why we're so ready to throw in the towel instead of pivoting, we're so ready to slash all the other 3 tires instead of just fixing the one that got flat, is because of our emotions. We know that we are emotionally invested into this. And so we say, okay, I'm going to do everything that I can to jump in, and I'm going to do this keto thing, or I'm going to do the KonMari method, or I'm going to do whatever it is that we want to do. And we're so emotionally invested into this that when it fails, it's a big blow to our ego.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that I want to shift our perspective on is where our logic lies versus where our emotion lies. So many times we are emotionally invested in the daily activities. We come home from the gym every single day and we look in the mirror and we say, did it make a change today? Did it make a difference today? And when it doesn't, we lose steam and we lose hope. I want you to shift your perspective and say, okay, instead of investing my emotion into the daily process, I want to invest my emotion into the long-term goal. I have my heart set on looking good in a bikini by the time I go on my cruise 6 months from now. Whatever that is, that's what my heart is set on. Now, daily, I'm going to look at the logical tasks that I have to do. Here is, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep going. Because what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to pivot without heartbreak. It's going to allow you to change and to shift without feeling like you're giving up on yourself, without feeling like you have failed, without feeling like, this whole thing, I'm hopeless.
Yeah.
So keep your heart set on the long-term goal and love yourself every step of the way up until that point. Keep your daily thoughts on just the tasks, on just the mundane, on the structure, on the system, on the logic of it all, on the goals that you've set to, this is going to set me up for success. And then give yourself those check-in points to say, okay, I'm going to do this for a month. By then, I should have lost 2 pounds. If in a month you haven't lost 2 pounds, then it's time to shift and to pivot. But you know that you haven't failed because your heart is still set on the long term, the view, rather than the daily tasks.
I really think what you said about the ego is important too, because it is hard. It's hard to admit to your spouse or your kids when you mess up.
Right.
It is really hard to say,
this wasn't a good idea.
That was my bad. And I think sometimes it's even harder to admit it to yourself.
Yeah.
So when you're reevaluating or assessing what's happening, you have to be willing to admit to yourself that maybe the reason you didn't get to where you were going was because you didn't actually do what you thought you were doing. There were probably a handful of days where you were like, oh, well, I did really well yesterday. So, or I worked out so hard today. It's okay if I have just a cookie. Or if and we justify.
Yeah.
And so if you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be willing to set your pride aside, even if it's just in a conversation with yourself, that to say, yeah, you know what? That was my bad.
Yeah.
That was my bad. And maybe it's not the plan that's the problem. Maybe it's the execution.
Yeah.
But either way, okay, so go back and reassess. Did you set your goals too high, like we talked about in the last podcast? Or did you set unreasonable expectations? Can you bring the bar down a little bit while still giving yourself the push? Because we don't want to say, well, it's okay, you'll do better next time.
Right.
either. We still got to give ourselves a little whack and be like, listen.
If we're not uncomfortable, we're not changing.
No. Yep.
So get out of your comfort zone.
Get out of your comfort zone. Yep.
Okay, so that leads us to our homework for this week. We want you to reassess where you are.
Yep.
Okay, know what is working and what isn't working, and be so honest with yourself that you can go back and so rethink this whole process. What are you doing and why? Where is your heart set, and what's the structure that you've set yourself up for success? Can you eliminate things that are going to help you be more successful? And then restructure the program. Are you doing what you really want to do and think that if you execute it better, it will lead to more success? Or do you think that what you're doing now is just not working and you need to find a different solution? Whatever you decide between those two things, can you do it better, or do you need to find something else? Choose one and do it.
Don't just throw your hands up and go, ugh.
No, that's not an option
That's
that
not,
we're okay
that's
with.
not one of those options.
No. Okay, so find how you can do it better, or find that pivot point and say, okay, this isn't working. I'm going to pivot and do something else. Find the something else that you want to try instead and set yourself up for success. So one of those two things, you got to do one in order to make progress either in your home or in your body.
Can't wait to hear what those are.
I know.
There's some tough talks with yourself in the mirror ahead.
Yes.
You can do this.
Yes. And if you are having a hard time doing it yourself, let us know. You can comment here. You can comment on Facebook at HomeBod Podcast, and find yourself that accountability partner and go talk with them and say, okay, it's a tough conversation, but we're going to do it. And by all means, make sure that you share this podcast with somebody that needs to hear it, or with your accountability partner, so that they know where you're coming from.
Absolutely. Good
luck. More things to come next week. We'll see you then.